Stock up, stock down as we evaluate the market of fantasy football players to determine what the relative value is of them and whether or not it's up or down. It's very binary in that sense. Whose stock's going up, Cynthia?
I'm looking at John Mechie's stock. If you look at targets just as a proxy for what matters, he had 6 of them. He caught 5, 74 yards, and a touchdown, most on the team, by the way, and he had 3 red zone targets in the last 3 weeks after having exactly 0 in the first 4 games. He played 63% of snaps, so when I'm doing his whole, stock chart and analyzing with up and to the right for him, but sometimes things go up and other times things go down. I'm looking at you, Javonte Williams, just 2.7 fantasy points, 3 touches, 7 scrimmage yards, all career lows. When I'm looking to see when guys on your team who are wide receivers have more rushing yards than you, it's a tough situation. They're also figuring out what to do with Audric Estime, for example, all those other things. So for me, stock down on that one.
Yeah, Sean Payton said Audric Estime is going to get even more time. So even more of a situation where we're evaluating the down portion of the stock of being down for Javonte Williams. I'm going to take a stock up. We'll get the stock back up because we watched the game on NFL Network in Munich and saw Ja'Tavion Sanders, who since week 5 leads the Panthers in targets, has 12 or more fantasy points in 2 of the last 4 games. And we've talked about the issues that a lot of folks have had at tight end. And Ja'Tavion Sanders definitely on his way from being kind of an afterthought to fringe relevant at the tight end position, depending on if you've got guys out on the bye. And also in that same game, it's a stock down, unfortunately, for Malik Nabers. You saw Daniel Jones' passing performance in Munich. Love Malik Nabers, love the volume that he gets, but sometimes you just wonder if the volume is worth it compared to the actual production that we're getting from some other players. Maybe Brian Daboll comes out and says, hey, we're getting Drew Lock in there. Then I think that you can evaluate things. But considering right now, it could be a great buy low opportunity if you believe that, but it's just really tough to see this from Malik Nabers, who's so good, right?
Drew Lock would at least throw the ball down the field.
Yes.
Which is something that we would love to see. And I think that's going to be a realistic possibility over the next couple of weeks. And I will go with a stock up for a guy that I loved coming into this season, and it's Bucky Irving, who continues to play a much bigger role in this offense as the season goes on. He had close to 18 fantasy points in this game, led the team in rushing attempts and rushing yards in week 10. 16 touches were a season high. It's interesting because coming into the year, a lot of the people pushed back because they're like, hey, Rachaad White is our guy. And it's like, you know what? This is an opportunity for both sides to be like, okay, your guy was good, my guy's good. So if you have Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, you should feel good about those guys moving forward. One guy whose stock is going down, obviously, Jordan Mason played 5% of the snaps in week 10. But here's what this is what I want to tell everybody. Now, if you have Jordan Mason as a standalone player, you do not have Christian McCaffrey, it's time to move on from him. However, if you have Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason pops up on the waiver wire, I hope you learned your lesson from week 1. Go pick him up, okay? That's what I'm talking. Go pick him up. If you have Christian McCaffrey and you have an opportunity to go get Jordan, even if you want to make a trade for Jordan Mason, you got to do it. The stock is way down, except if you have shares of Christian McCaffrey. But ultimately, for Jordan Mason as a standalone player, it was a nice run. Thank you for getting us here. But like Paulie said to Henry Hill in Goodfellas, it's now time for me to turn my back on you.